And I'll tell you, if I had a prerequisite, ladies and gentlemen, for any elected official, I don't care whether you're the dog catcher of Summerville, whether you're a United States Senator, or whether you're running for governor, is that you had business experience, period. Because knowing what you do on a daily basis and how it affects the bottom line in a small business, because as a small business person, you're dealing with the banks, you're dealing with rules and regulations, you're dealing with your customers, you're dealing with your employees. And having a little insight on that and knowing what I do on a daily basis and how it affects the bottom line of a small business person has been invaluable to me. Because I can tell you, God bless Rick Santorum, God bless the men and women that are in Washington and want to go to Washington. But I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the answers to this nation's problems are not in Washington, D.C. The Constitution of the United States and our forefathers had it exactly right. There's a little amendment in there called the 10th Amendment, which is a states' rights amendment. And I believe with all my heart that we can take this nation back one state at a time. And it's going to start right here in South Carolina. We've got a website, GreshamBarrett.com. Please go on and take a look at it. Starting in January, we putting South Carolina Back to Work plan out. It's an 8-step common sense business plan that talks about how we turn this economy around one job at a time. And make no mistake about it, there's a lot of important issues out there, but the three most important are jobs, jobs, jobs. It's changing the economy through the private sector, not the government sector. And we can do that in South Carolina. And first of all, it takes total tax reform, putting all the options on the table and coming up with a system that's fair, that's flatter, that encourages businesses and industry to come into South Carolina and helps existing businesses that are already here. It takes a commitment to infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, sewer, a port system that is right up the road that is second to none. When the post-Panamax ships come in, South Carolina, the Port of Charleston, has to be ready. And that takes forward planning and that takes forward thinking to make sure our infrastructure is in place. Education. Everybody always talks about education. Every governor always talks about education. There's no silver bullet, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe with all my heart that the heart and soul of education is reading. You talk to the most liberal of liberals or the most conservative of conservatives, and they'll tell you that if you lose a child by by the third grade, you lose that child forever. No child, listen to me, no child should leave the third grade in South Carolina that is not at or above third grade reading. We can fix it. We've got to make sure these dollars make it to the classroom. And the last thing I want to touch up is restructuring, making sure, I believe, that the governor's hand is strengthened through a strong cabinet form of government. Whether it's the lieutenant governor, thank you. Whether it's the lieutenant governor, do away with the budget and control board, absolutely. But having the governor and the lieutenant governor run together, having the secretary of education, the superintendent of education, the treasurer, the comptroller, the adjutant under the governor's purview, I think that's extremely important. If you're going to give him the authority, give him the responsibility too. But one of the things the governor can do from day one is reorganize the Department of Commerce. The governor's number one job is jobs. He should go to bed every night and wake up every day thinking about how he's going to bring jobs and economic growth to South Carolina. And it starts with the Department of Commerce, having a head that's running that place that is a professional that's hired on a performance-based contract, having an incentivized workforce, men and women that understand the better South Carolina does, the better they do. And updating our incentive plans. You know, the same incentive plans that helped bring Boeing to South Carolina is the same one that helped bring BMW to South Carolina 25 years ago. We've got to update it and bring it up to 2010 standards so we can meet and beat and compete all of these people around us in the Southeast. And it starts right here. It starts right here in Summerville, South Carolina with our small businesses. You know, and it's time our government acted like our small business. You can't continue to spend like there's no tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. If your local economy or your family is growing at 1 to 2% per year, then your government should grow at 1 or 2% per year. You can't grow at 10 to 15 to 20%. It is unsustainable. That's why I think we need a statutory limit on spending in government. It should be a population growth plus CPI or something that correlates with exactly what's happening with our family budgets and our businesses and industry. It's something to hold men and women accountable. Sunshine, fresh air, it's a good thing. And I tell you, I could not be more excited about being here. We're 50 days. 50 days from a primary. Somebody asked me, said, man, it sure is going fast. And I said, speak for yourself, baby. I've been doing this for a long time. but it is amazing how fast this thing's going. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, this is not a popularity contest. This is a contest who's going to have a real plan and a real change for South Carolina. Not just something nice, but something real, something substantive, and something that is doable. You can have the best ideas in the world and the most innovative solutions, but if you can't lead, if you can't make things happen, it's all for naught. And I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about being here today with you guys. And we're going to have a couple of events here in Summerville. And I'm excited about the opportunity to be here with my dear friend, Rick Santorum. And I will say this in closing. We've seen him three times here in South Carolina, and I hope within the next 2 years we will see my friend Rick Santorum more and more on the national scene, because I'll tell you, if there's ever been a time we need strong leaders in America, it's today. And Rick Santorum is one of them. Any questions? Any questions? I'll take some, or Rick will take some. Yes, sir.
I like your viewpoints on cap and trade.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of people think it's a good thing. But personally for South Carolina and personally for this nation, I think it's a job killer. I think it's terrible. I mean, the co-ops, and don't take my word for it, the co-ops, and most of the people in South Carolina get their power from rural electric co-ops. They say it'll add roughly $1,400 per year to a family's power bill and cost us 17,000 jobs. In South Carolina, even though we create 52% of our power with nuclear, we export a lot of that power, so we have a tremendous carbon footprint, and it will be devastating in South Carolina. That's one of the reasons I am pushing nuclear so hard. We put out a plan 2 weeks ago called the Palmetto Energy Plan, which is a two-pronged attack. It talks about offshore exploration, and it talks about nuclear. We've got 4 nuclear reactors on the board in South Carolina, 2 at the V.C. Summer site, Fairfield County, 2 at the Lee site in Cherokee County. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a $25 billion investment in South Carolina, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight against that cap and trade.
Shut it off.
I think it's wrong for America. Question? Yes, sir.
What's the best way to bring education in South Carolina up to snuff with most of the other states in the union?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I do believe focus